collectors, and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at the 1988 remastered Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from Playmates Toys. Now these were Walmart exclusives, and I picked these up probably about a month ago and just unfortunately haven't gotten to them until now, but I am still really excited to check these out. So the packaging here I think is pretty cool. You have the 40 years of the TMNT logo right there. You have some cool artwork here on the side, have kind of this generic brick motif. Shows over here that they do come with a base plate, so you can kind of make this little rooftop scene, which is pretty cool. Shows the four turtles here on the back. Of course, we will be taking a look at all four of them today. Now, they do come with their classic weapons, and then some of the other weapons that you used to find on like the little sprue weapons rack that was included. And then you have all new weapons as well for each of the four. So I think these are going to be pretty cool. I'm excited to check them out. I think they were $12.99, somewhere in there at Walmart. So not too expensive, not breaking the bank, very much in keeping with those original sketch turtles that they had at Target that I took a look at not too long ago. I'll put a link to that at the end of this one. But yeah, I'm excited for these. I think they look pretty cool. I'm going to go ahead and get them out of the boxes here, and we'll take a closer look. So here are the four turtles out of the box. I think these are really cool. I really do like them quite a bit, but they're not perfect, and we'll get into it. I'll just start off with Raphael because he is here in the front. Now, all four of the turtles have the exact same articulation, and if you're familiar with any of the other toys that Playmates is doing right now, the articulation points are very similar, particularly to what they're doing for the Mutant Mayhem line. So we have the head on a ball joint, so you can kind of move that around side to side. You can tilt it side to side. You can look up a little bit. You can look down a little bit. Nice range of motion there. You have a hinge and a rotation in the shoulder. Same here for the elbow. Unfortunately, you don't get a ton of movement in the elbow just because of like the elbow pad there, but you can get a little bit of the hinge there and certainly a rotation, no problem. Simple wrist rotation there. You have a hinge and a rotation in the hip, nothing in the waist. You have a hinge and a rotation in the knee, and then you just have a simple ankle swivel. Again, very similar to what they have going on right now with their Mutant Mayhem / Tales of the TMNT line for that medium. But yeah, I think they look pretty cool. As you can see here, he does have the pouch still in the back for this weapon, which is pretty cool, and I'll go into all their accessories in a moment. Raph can kind of hold the sai like that. It's not perfect, but you can at least pull that off. And then, of course, these can slide into the holster on the belt pretty easily. And I will say these weapons are definitely a nice upgrade to what they had back in the day. You know, they're not all that tannish brown color that all the turtles had originally. You actually have a nice gray plastic here with the handle painted red. You know, they're all painted to correspond to the turtle. I worry, though, that because this is where the figure grasps onto this, the paint may eventually wear off. So that's a bit of a bummer. I don't really know what they could do to combat that. I still think it looks good with the handle painted to match. I wouldn't have wanted it just all gray, so I don't really know what they would have done. But, you know, they look comically large, but they did that on the original figure as well. You still have the initial on the belt buckle, which I think looks really good. The shell, I think, looks really good. I feel like that design is very similar to the original toy. And like I said, Raph still has that pouch on the back to pop that in. And that has a nice painted black handle there. Now, the one big thing, as you can see, and I know a lot of people have been talking about this, they have this texture to them. And it's not really like a sticky or bumpy texture. It's just kind of molded on there. Like when you touch the figure, it still feels... I mean, it feels obviously bumpier than the original toy, but the texture to the touch is not as noticeable as it is to look at it, if that makes any sense. And it's just, you know, I guess to give them a texture to their skin, which I don't think was really needed. I mean, I liked the original toys just fine without it. The original toys had a very smooth, you know, kind of lacquered look to them, which I didn't mind personally. I don't know. The more I look at it, I don't mind it as much. It kind of grows on me, but I certainly didn't need it, and I understand completely why a lot of people don't like it. It definitely wasn't necessary, I don't think, but I also don't think in person it's as jarring as the pictures were. For some reason, seeing them online at first, it was very jarring, and it just didn't really make a lot of sense. But once you have them in hand and you kind of handle them, it's not as jarring as it was. the headbands, I think, all look good. It does, however, look like the headbands, like this, I almost feel like is an exterior piece of plastic, kind of a softer plastic molded onto the head, whereas the bands for the elbows and the knees are just molded into the leg and then painted, because these are definitely a darker color than, say, the headband, whereas I think that is a separate piece of softer plastic. These are just, I think, the leg painted, because that definitely comes out darker. I would assume it's the same with the wristbands as well, but they're close enough that it doesn't bother me. Overall, I mean, for $13, I think these figures are pretty cool. I do like, the amount of articulation they have. Sure, it would be nice to have, those kind of what I call Figuarts style wrists, where they kind of have like a ball joint for the wrist and then maybe like a hinge as well, something like that. Or at the very least, a hinge and a rotation at the ankle. But these are not meant to be NECA figures. They're not meant to be Figuarts. They're $13 figures that are pretty much on par with the current offerings. And those current offerings just have the simple, rotation at the ankle and the wrist. Now, I know a lot of people have been comparing these to Motu Origins because the comparisons are just there to be made. You're reimagining the original toy with increased articulation. And those do have, ball joints at the hip. At the ankle. I feel like it would have been easy enough, maybe not to have a hinge and a rotation, but just to put a simple ball joint in the ankle. I feel like that could have been done, but I completely understand how they kind of just went with what they know and what they've been doing for the other line. It's a shame, but I think it's a tolerable shame. If that makes sense. So, I think, again, when you're considering the fact that you have for $13 the figure, all the accessories, which we'll get into in a minute, this base plate here, I think it's reasonable. Those figures are, I think, $10 a piece, which I've always thought is reasonable. And, if they were going to plus these up a little bit to give them that extra, wrist and ankle articulation, maybe they'd have to be more like $15, $17, $20. Now, I know some people would be totally okay with that. And I think, honestly, these are kind of a test. I feel like it's the 40th anniversary. Walmart wants an exclusive. We'll give them these, see how they fly. And then if these do well, they could do other figures, probably the other villains that came out in the original wave, Shredder, Bebop, Rocksteady, A Foot Soldier, Master Splinter, obviously not a villain, but I'm just saying the other figures from the original wave back in 88, they could do those figures with this kind of articulation, or they could upscale the figures, not changing in size necessarily, but quality, adding those couple extra articulation points, and then doing the entire wave, making you rebuy the four turtles, as companies like to do that, and then make them $15, $17, $20 a piece, but they would have the upscaled articulation. They'd probably be about the same size because we do want them to resemble the original toys. So like I said, I feel like this is kind of a test run with what they know. They're kind of taking the model from, the Mutant Mayhem toys and kind of applying it here. So this is kind of like a fusion first outing. And then if these do well, I think they could redo the figures a little bit, increase the articulation, and, maybe up the price a little bit. And then just do, from scratch, the four turtles, do April, do Splinter, do the four villains. And then if that does well, keep going, keep going. So that's kind of my feeling on it. I'm just guessing at that. I have no insider information, but that just seems like the way companies do these things. And so that's just my educated guess. So I do like the figures quite a bit. Like I said, they all have the same articulation. The other thing, I know a lot of people have talked about this to death. So apparently Leonardo and Donatello got their heads switched at some point. If you look at the original toys, Leonardo is supposed to have the one half closed mouth with the teeth on the one side, and Donatello is supposed to have the teeth on both sides with the bandana in the back. I don't know what happened, but again, that would be another reason for them to redo the four turtles once they eventually, tweak the mold and then kind of relaunch their quote-unquote Origins line, if that's what they decide to do. Just my guess. But I do really like these. Again, a couple improvements here. Again, same articulation. The bow staff here, I think, is considerably longer than the original toy. Again, has the purple paint for the band. The original was just, again, a orangish brown stick, which I believe probably 2/3 of the size, if I had to guess, the original bow staff. Now, you did get 2 of them with the original toy. Here, you only get 1. And again, I'll go into their accessories in a moment. Leonardo, I think his katana looked pretty good. You know, again, gray plastic with the handles painted. And they did, and I should point this out for Donatello as well, faithfully recreate their straps on the back. That's right out of the original toy. I think that looks perfect. Those really do look good. And then for Michelangelo, we actually got new nunchaku with chains. You know, they're a little it looks like they might break, but they are, you know, metal, and they're not that little strand of plastic that definitely did break almost immediately when you were kids. If you had these original toys, that thin strand of plastic snapped all the time. These look like they have a little bit to them. They have some nice chain there, and again, they did faithfully recreate their straps on the back so you can store both of them on there. But yeah, I think ultimately, I think these look good. I don't think they're perfect, but I think they're kind of a test run, kind of a proof of concept, if you will. And then they would kind of revisit them, tweak them a little bit, and then relaunch them with maybe some of the others from the original first wave in '88. And I think that's their plan. That's my educated guess. Again, don't know that for sure, have no insider info, but it would just make sense. So let's go in, now that we've kind of gone over the figures and their articulation, let's look at some of these accessories. So in addition to their signature weapons, which they each come with 2, with the exception of Donatello has the 1 bow staff, every turtle comes with one of these, I used to call it a pizza cutter back in the day, just because it's shaped like a piece of pizza, and presumably it cuts. But whatever ninja weapon this is, we've seen it a bunch of times. I think a lot of the figures back in the day came with this as part of that sprue weapons rack. So everyone comes with one of these. You also have this kind of handheld weapon, very much smaller kind of handheld melee weapon here. Every turtle has one of these as well. Every turtle has 2 shuriken done in this gray plastic. So those 3, or I guess technically 4 accessories, come with every turtle. And then every turtle has kind of a second signature weapon kind of a thing. So like for Donatello, he has this staff here with the 2 chains on the end, solid piece of plastic. This is just molded. These are not metal like Mikey's nunchaku are, but still kind of a cool weapon. Has a little bit of paint here on the inside, kind of a darker purple than the staff, but I'm assuming that's because it's on light gray plastic. But that is Donatello's kind of secondary signature weapon. Leonardo has, and I don't know the name of any of these. I apologize. This looks like that thing the Klingons use. I forget what that thing's called, but you know, Playmates has probably one of those Klingon weapons, and they modified it. Now, honestly, this might be a real weapon. I don't know, but again, a little bit of blue paint there, kind of 2 handle points, depending on how he wants to hold on to that. Raphael comes with this like 2 hammer looking thing, again with a little bit of red paint here. I don't know what this is, but it just looks like 2 hammers connected together. Maybe he's going to be doing some blacksmithing. I don't know. And then Michelangelo has this, which I've seen these. Now you do have the kind of molded strand here, so it would be a little difficult to kind of like the way these kind of like sometimes they would launch like one of them at people while holding onto the other one. Or maybe even kind of use it as like a grappling hook, but that is molded there. But again, some nice paint, and you can see, unfortunately, the orange is already chipping a little bit there. But the secondary weapons are kind of neat. I probably won't use them too much, but I do think they're kind of neat, and I'm glad that they're included. The other big accessory that each turtle comes with is one of these display stands. So I'm going to pop the turtles off here very quickly so that I can show these off. Let me move everything out of the way here. So let me grab one of these. All 4 of these are the same in the way that the molding is there. You have that kind of blue and red wire in the back, the piece of pizza, the splat of mutagen. Now, the different mutagen splats are different, I guess, as you can see there. But the molding is pretty much the same. They come with some different accessories. Like this one comes with a little antenna piece. This one has the ladder, although to me it doesn't make sense. I don't feel like you would need the ladder to get from here over this short wall. You would think that you would want the ladder to hang off of this side and climb up onto the rooftop, which I assume this is supposed to be a rooftop. So you can mount it on either side, whichever you prefer. This one has some satellite dishes. This one has this little radiator piece up here. And then they each have like a secondary piece. So Donatello came with this like air conditioner unit. Now there's not really a way to affix these in any way. They just kind of sit wherever you want them. So like, I'm glad that they're included because it's a nice little piece, but they're very hollow. They don't really affix in any way. And I don't really know where you would put it. Like, am I supposed to put it just here while he stands behind it? I don't really know. I feel like they're trying to create a roof scene, but unfortunately it's just not the best, and they could have executed it a little better. Have a specific place for this to peg in or make sense, something like that. So you have that piece there. Donatello, I'm sorry, that was Donatello's. This was Leonardo's as a little skylight. Same kind of thing. You can put it wherever, but it's just going to move around a lot. So I think Mikey had this little water tower piece. At least I think that's what that's supposed to be, unless it's another kind of duct radiator piece or something. And then I think Raphael came with this little smokestack here. So they're neat pieces. They're, have some decent paint applications, some nice molding. I appreciate what they're going for. I just wish there was somewhere that made sense for them to peg onto, or at least maybe gave you a couple options or some way to make them go in a specific spot. I just think including them was nice, but just not really executed that well. The other thing, they want you to peg these together like this. Oh, now this is in the way. Let me get this off here. So they want you to peg these together like this. And of course, this piece is going to get in the way. That's the other thing. You just move these. This one's pretty snug, actually. There we go. So they want you to peg these in like this. I don't know about you, but again, I'm assuming this is supposed to be a rooftop, and rooftops don't have walls in the middle of them. It just doesn't really make sense. I would want, if I had my option, to either peg them in like this, and then it's kind of like a rooftop. You don't have the sides. What I would really like to do, I wish these pieces were removable. Like if you could take these wall pieces off and either just leave it off, and then I would just put these four together, have the one half wall, and just say, okay, it's a rooftop, whatever. Maybe the rooftop's much wider and this is a small section of it. Or if I could take this off and make a corner and then have like the corner of a rooftop, and then I could kind of display it like that, and then maybe just take it off of this one and plug it in here, or, something like that. I mean, as it stands right now, the most you can kind of do is, maybe something like this. Or to me, I would just want them to have the most amount of space where they can kind of stand together in an open space. And the one that came with the concept turtles, that had something like that. It was just it really didn't depict any kind of specific area. It was just kind of a big black macadam area that had a little piece in the back that Michelangelo could stand on. The other three went around him, and it was a nice diorama. It was, something that showed the four turtles. No one was in the back getting overtaken by someone in the front. It didn't have like these wall pieces. Like if I want to display this like this, I've already got something in the way, but then I'm kind of putting someone else directly in front. If I want to kind of move them around, I have these walls in the way, and I wish you could just, like, even if these were just removable, if nothing else, and I've kind of tried to see if you could pop these off, but it kind of feels like they're glued on there, and I don't really want to break them, but it almost feels like they could come off. So, yeah, but even if you could if these were just unpeggable, and that way I could just put these four in the front, just have the half wall in the back, have this be an open rooftop space, that would be bare minimum. But if they could do something where you could customize it a little bit and, kind of put the wall like this to make a corner, just kind of unpeg this and pop it on over here, I think that would have been really neat. Or if they did something to kind of give it levels, or maybe, like I said, do something like this where we could have the walls all around them. Maybe two of these were corner pieces and these two were not corner pieces, something like that. But they very clearly just made this one time and popped it in 4 times. So like, I get that. I totally get it from a cost, cost cutting measure. You get what I'm trying to say. But I do not like the look of this. I do not want, again, assuming this is supposed to be a rooftop scene, because that's with all these pieces, they're rooftop accessories. Rooftops do not have a wall and then another wall down the middle of the rooftop. That just doesn't make any sense. And if at that point, why am I connecting them? Now, if you just want to have these on the shelf and they're completely separate, and you just want to put all 4 of them, or you, if you have the space, do it side by side, because you can do that. That is an option. Just do it like this. That would work if you have the shelf space for that. But I just don't think it makes sense to do 2 and then 2 more in the front. I would personally like to make it a 2x2 square, but be able to move the half walls around. That's just what I would like. But again, I appreciate the inclusion. It's like everything else with these rooftop accessories. It was a nice idea. You just didn't quite stick the landing on the execution. In terms of the figures, I think they're obviously much better than the rooftop display stands. I think they're neat. I think they are a good first pass. I really hope that these do well enough that they kind of revisit the idea, tweak the articulation a little bit, make them a little bit higher quality, fix some of the small minor things like the head swap, maybe get rid of that bumpy skin texture because I don't really think it's needed. So couple of little tweaks and then kind of start the line over again, maybe at a $15, $17, $20 price point if it's warranted. I don't want you to jump straight to 20 if it's not warranted, but if you really do increase the quality that much, increase the offering with the accessories or some kind of buildable diorama that like all 10 will make something really awesome and actually connect together well, I could be down for 20 a piece. I think that would be fair. If you wanted to keep it at 15, 17, 18, something like that, again, I think that would be fair. If you make those couple little tweaks, you definitely have to plus up the articulation a little bit and either get rid of the display stand option altogether or tweak it a little bit so it's a little bit more cohesive, I guess, for lack of a better term. So if you can find these at Walmart for normal retail price, I think they're worth checking out. If you're a fan of the original toys, they'll definitely give you that nostalgic feel that you're looking for. I think they look good to put them on a shelf. I think they look good. Are they quite Motu Origins? No. I think they're headed in that right direction. I think that's something that Playmates should absolutely do. I think fans have been asking for that for a long time. And I think that this is them kind of dipping their toe into that water. And I think it's a good first pass. It's a good first run at it. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you agree? Did you pick these up? What are your thoughts on them? Am I being too hard? Do you agree? Let me know in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. And as always, thank you so much for watching.